You're the only one who can give us this gift, Michaela. My sister Livia's perfectly manicured fingers wrapped around her wine glass as she delivered what I now realise was a carefully rehearsed line. The crystal caught the light from the chandelier above our parents' dining table, casting tiny rainbows across the white tablecloth like some kind of sick joke about hope. My name is Michaela, and I should have walked out right then. Instead, I sat there like an idiot, watching my golden child sister's eyes fill with crocodile tears, while my parents nodded along like this was the most reasonable request in the world. Ask your younger daughter to carry your baby. Sure. Why not? We've tried everything, Livia continued, her voice breaking just enough to sound genuine. 5 years of treatments, 3 miscarriages. The doctors say my uterus just can't. She trailed off, dabbing at her eyes with the cloth napkin. Judah, her husband, reached over and squeezed her hand. We know it's a lot to ask. It's not just asking, my mother Georgia chimed in, leaning forward with that intense look she got when she was about to manipulate someone. It's family. Family helps family. I almost laughed. Family helps family. Where was that philosophy when I needed help with college tuition? When I was working 3 jobs just to afford my tiny apartment while Livia got handed a trust fund and a wedding that cost more than most people's houses? I don't know, I said, setting down my fork. The salmon on my plate suddenly looked unappetizing. This is huge. I need time to think. Of course you do, my father Braxton said in that patronizing tone he'd perfected over the years. But don't think too long. Livia's not getting any younger, and frankly, neither are you. There it was, the subtle dig. At 29, I was apparently approaching my expiration date in their eyes. We'd compensate you, obviously, Judah added quickly. 50,000 plus all medical expenses, and of course you'd be giving us the greatest gift imaginable. 50,000. I made 35,000 a year at my marketing job. The money would change everything for me. Plus, Livia said, her tears mysteriously dried up now that we were talking numbers. Think about how close we'd become. You'd be part of something beautiful, something that matters. I looked around the table at their expectant faces. This was it. This was my chance to finally matter to them, to be the daughter who saved the day instead of the one who disappointed them at every turn. I remember when you were born, Georgia said softly, playing her trump card. I held you and thought, this little girl is going to do something special. Maybe this is it, honey. Maybe this is your purpose. My purpose, to be a vessel for my sister's happiness. Can I see the contract first? I asked. The question seemed to surprise them. Braxton cleared his throat. Contract? Michaela, this is family. We don't need... I need to see it, I said firmly. If we're doing this, we're doing it right. Of course, Judah said smoothly. I'll have my lawyer draw something up. Standard surrogacy agreement. I'll have my own lawyer look at it too. The temperature in the room seemed to drop a few degrees. Livia's smile faltered. Your lawyer? Georgia asked. Honey, that seems a bit adversarial. It's smart, I said. Eva always tells me to get everything in writing. Eva, Livia said, practically spitting the name. Your friend who thinks our family is toxic? Eva's a good lawyer and a good friend. Fine, Braxton said, waving his hand dismissively. Have your lawyer look at it, but don't let some outsider poison this beautiful thing we're trying to do here. I nodded, but something cold was settling in my stomach. The way they'd all looked at each other when I mentioned Eva. The way the warmth had drained from their voices. So you'll do it? Livia asked, hope creeping back into her voice. I looked at my sister, really looked at her. The perfect hair, the perfect makeup, the perfect life that she'd always had handed to her. And here I was, about to hand her one more perfect thing. Yes, I heard myself say, I'll do it. The table erupted in smiles and thank yous and talk of family and love and gifts. But all I could think about was getting to Eva's apartment and showing her whatever contract they were going to give me. Later that night, Eva poured us both wine and spread the preliminary contract across her coffee table. They'll regret underestimating you, she said quietly. her pen already moving across the pages. I had no idea how right she was. Put that down. Livia's sharp voice cut across the grocery store aisle as I reached for a bag of chips. I was 12 weeks pregnant and craving salt like my life depended on it. "They're just chips," I said, but I found myself putting the bag back anyway. "Do you know how much sodium is in those? You're carrying my baby, Michaela. Start acting like it." My baby, not our baby, not the baby, my baby. Like I was just the oven she'd rented. The grocery trips had started 3 weeks ago. Livia insisted on coming with me to make sure I was eating right. What it really meant was standing over me while she vetoed half my choices and lectured me about prenatal nutrition like I was some teenager who'd gotten knocked up by accident. "Get the organic apples," she said, steering the cart away from the regular ones. "And make sure you wash them twice." I read that pesticides can cause developmental delays. I grabbed the organic apples, noting they cost 3 times as much. Good thing she was paying. "Oh, and Judah wants to come to your appointment tomorrow," she added casually, checking items off her phone list. "My appointment?" "The ultrasound. We want to make sure everything's progressing normally." There was that word again. "I thought you were coming," I said. "I am. We both are. The more eyes on our baby, the better." I pushed the cart toward the checkout, trying to ignore the way she kept saying "our baby" while looking at my stomach like it was a storage unit she was renting. The next morning I sat in the waiting room between Livia and Judah, feeling like a third wheel at my own doctor's appointment. They whispered to each other about baby names and nursery colours while I filled out forms. "Michaela Armstrong," the nurse called. All 3 of us stood up. "Just the patient, please," the nurse said, looking confused. "We're the parents," Livia said firmly. "We need to be there." The nurse looked at me. I nodded, even though something in my chest felt tight. Dr. Martinez was professional as always, but I could see her glancing between the 3 of us, trying to figure out the dynamic. "Everything looks perfect," she said, pointing at the screen. "Baby's measuring right on track." "Can you tell the sex yet?" Judah asked, leaning forward. "It's still early, but I might be able to get a peek. Would you like to know?" "Yes," Livia said immediately. Dr. Martinez looked at me. "Michaela?" Sure. Looks like you're having a girl." Livia gasped and grabbed Judah's hand. "A girl! Oh my God, a girl!" They were crying and hugging each other while I lay there with gel on my stomach, watching my niece move around on the screen. She looked so tiny, so perfect. "We'll need copies of everything," Judah told the doctor. "All the measurements, the photos, everything." "Of course, I'll have the nurse print them out." As we left the office, Livia was already on the phone with Georgia. "Mom, it's a girl. Can you believe it? Our little princess." I walked behind them to the parking lot, carrying the ultrasound photos they'd forgotten to take. "Michaela?" Eva's voice made me turn around. She was getting out of her car in the lot next to the medical building. "What are you doing here?" I asked. "Dentist appointment. How did it go?" I glanced back at Livia and Judah, who were still celebrating by their car. "Fine. It's a girl." "That's exciting. How are you feeling?" "Like a walking incubator." Eva frowned. "They're not treating you well?" "They're treating me exactly like what I am to them, a service provider." "Michaela, come on," Livia called out. "We want to go tell Dad." "I have to go," I said to Eva. "Call me later," she said, squeezing my arm. "I mean it." The celebration at my parents' house was everything I'd expected. Champagne for everyone except me, talk of baby showers and nursery themes, speculation about who she'd look like. "She'll have Livia's eyes," Georgia said, scrolling through the ultrasound photos on her phone. "I can already tell." "And Judah's strong jaw," Braxton added, clapping his son-in-law on the back. I sat on the couch, drinking sparkling water, while they planned my niece's entire life around me. "We should start thinking about the baby shower," Georgia said. "Something elegant, maybe at the country club." "That sounds perfect," Livia said. "We'll need to make a registry." "What about Michaela?" Judah asked suddenly. Everyone turned to look at me like they'd forgotten I was there. What about her? Braxton asked. Does she come to the shower? The silence stretched out uncomfortably. Well, Georgia said carefully, it might be confusing for people. You know how they talk. Right, I said, standing up. Wouldn't want people to get confused about who the real mother is. Michaela, Livia said in that warning tone she'd used since we were kids. I'm tired. I'm going home. You should rest more, Georgia called after me. It's important for the baby. I drove home in silence, my hands gripping the steering wheel. At a red light, I called Eva. They're planning a baby shower, I said when she answered. That's nice. I'm not invited. Eva was quiet for a long moment. Michaela, are you sure about this arrangement? It's too late now. It's never too late. You have options. I signed a contract. A contract I made sure protects you. Remember that. The light turned green, and I drove toward my empty apartment, Eva's words echoing in my head. The contractions hit me at 3 a.m. on a Tuesday. I called Livia first like we planned. She didn't answer. I called again. Nothing. By the fourth call, Judah picked up. What? His voice was thick with sleep. It's time. I'm in labour. Oh, okay. We'll meet you at the hospital. I need a ride. I can't drive like this. Can't you call an Uber? I hung up and called Eva instead. She picked up on the first ring. I'm on my way. Eva held my hand through the worst contractions while we waited in triage. Livia and Judah finally showed up an hour later, looking like they'd stopped for coffee on the way. How far apart are they? Livia asked the nurse, not me. About 4 minutes. We're moving her to a delivery room now. Perfect timing, Judah said, checking his phone. I can still make my conference call at 10. The labour lasted 14 hours. 14 hours of Livia pacing the room, complaining about the uncomfortable chairs, and asking the nurses every 20 minutes if there was any way to speed things up. Judah spent most of it in the hallway, taking work calls. Can you please stop making that noise? Livia snapped during a particularly bad contraction. It's very distracting. Eva stepped forward. She's in labour. She's allowed to make noise. And you are? Why, her support person, the one who's actually supporting her. When my daughter finally arrived, screaming and perfect, the room went silent for exactly 3 seconds before Livia burst into tears. She's here! Oh my God, she's here! Judah, look at her! The doctor placed her on my chest for skin-to-skin contact, and I looked down at this tiny person I'd carried for 9 months. She had dark hair and was still covered in vernix, her little fists waving in the air. Can I hold her now? Livia asked, practically bouncing on her toes. Let's get her cleaned up first, the nurse said gently. They took her to the warming table, and Livia hovered over the nurses like a helicopter mom from minute 1. Judah was already taking pictures, his phone camera clicking constantly. Make sure you get her good side, Livia instructed. Babies don't have bad sides, Eva muttered. I lay there, exhausted and empty, watching my sister hold my daughter for the first time. The way Livia looked at her, you'd think she'd given birth herself. Hello, beautiful, Livia whispered. Mommy's here. Something twisted in my chest, but I was too tired to examine what it was. The next morning, I woke up alone in my hospital room. No flowers, no balloons, no family checking on me. I could hear voices down the hall and recognise Livia's laugh. I pressed the call button. Can you tell me where my family is? I asked the nurse who came in. They're in the nursery with the baby. Would you like me to get them? No, that's okay. I checked my phone. 17 notifications on Instagram. Livia had posted a dozen photos of the baby with captions like, "Our miracle is here and worth every moment of waiting." Not one photo included me. Eva arrived around noon with real food and a concerned expression. How are you feeling? Like I got hit by a truck. Where is everyone? Still in the nursery, I think. Your parents got here an hour ago. They didn't come see me. Eva's face said everything. They're probably just excited about the baby, I said, but even I didn't believe it. Michaela, it's fine. This is what I signed up for. But it wasn't fine. When Braxton finally showed up that afternoon, he had a check in his hand and the expression of someone completing a business transaction. "You did good, kiddo," he said, setting the check on my bedside table. 25,000, as agreed. I stared at the check. The contract said 50. "That was if everything went smoothly. You were 2 weeks early, caused some complications with our plans." Complications? Livia had to cancel her spa weekend. Judah missed an important client dinner. These things have consequences. I was in labour for 14 hours. And now it's over. You've done your job, Michaela. We appreciate it, we really do. But it's time for you to move on with your life while we focus on raising our daughter. Our daughter, not my daughter, not even the baby anymore. "Where's Mom?" I asked. "Helping Livia get settled at home. The baby needs consistency now." "I'm being discharged tomorrow. I thought maybe—" "Maybe what?" "Maybe I could visit sometimes, see how she's doing." Braxton's expression hardened. "Michaela, let's be clear about something. You were the surrogate. That's over now. Continuing contact would just be confusing for everyone, especially the child. She's my niece. She's Livia and Judah's daughter. Period." He left without saying goodbye. That evening, my cousin Peyton stopped by. I hadn't seen her since the family dinner where this all started. "How are you holding up?" she asked, settling into the visitor's chair. "I've been better. Look, I'm going to be straight with you because someone needs to be. There's no place for you in this anymore. Livia's made that very clear to everyone." "What do you mean?" "I mean she's already planning the christening, and your name isn't on the guest list. She's talking about changing paediatricians because she doesn't want any confusion about who the mother is. Face it, Michaela, you're done here." After Peyton left, I sat alone in my hospital bed, staring at the check Braxton had left. $25,000, half of what they'd promised. I reached for my purse and pulled out the contract Eva had negotiated for me. My hands were shaking as I flipped through the pages, looking for the clause I'd barely paid attention to at the time. There it was, buried in the legal language Eva had insisted on including. I smiled for the first time in days and reached for my phone. "Eva, it's me! Remember that trust clause you put in the contract, the one about breach of terms?" "Of course. Why?" "Let's see how they like being outmanoeuvred." "Read Section 12 again," Eva said, spreading the contract across her dining table. Out loud, I cleared my throat. "In the event that the intended parents fail to honour the agreed-upon compensation, emotional support provisions, or post-birth acknowledgement terms, the surrogate shall have immediate access to 50% of the family trust established under the Armstrong-Riley joint account." "And what did they promise you?" $50,000, inclusion in family events, and ongoing relationship with the child. What did you get? 25,000, exclusion from everything, and told to disappear. Eva leaned back in her chair. "That's breach of contract on 3 separate counts. I told you this clause was important. I thought you were being paranoid." "I was being thorough. Your family has a pattern, Michaela. I've watched them treat you like garbage for years." She pulled out her laptop and started typing. "The trust account has $2.3 million in it. Half of that is yours now." My hands went numb. $1.15 million? Plus interest, plus penalties for breach of contract. Eva's fingers flew across the keyboard. "I'm filing the paperwork now." "Wait, are you sure about this?" Eva stopped typing and looked at me. "Are you sure about letting them get away with treating you like hired help?" I thought about Braxton's dismissive tone, Livia's complete erasure of me from her social media, the way they'd all acted like I was an inconvenience the moment the baby was born. File it. The next 3 days were the quietest of my life. I'd moved into a furnished apartment Eva helped me find, using the $25,000 as a deposit and first year's rent. My phone stayed silent. No calls from family asking how I was recovering, no texts checking if I needed anything, but Eva's phone was buzzing constantly. "That's the 3rd call from their lawyer today," she said, declining another call. "They're panicking." "What are they saying?" "That it's a misunderstanding. That family disputes should be handled privately, that you're being vindictive. Eva grinned. Standard rich people playbook when they get caught. On Thursday morning, Eva called me at 6 a.m. It's done. The transfer went through an hour ago. I sat up in bed. All of it? All of it. 115 million plus 200,000 in penalties and interest. It's in your new account. I stared at my phone screen, trying to process the numbers. Yesterday I'd been a broke surrogate with a part-time marketing job. Today I was a millionaire. Michaela, you there? I'm here. This is real. Very real and very legal. They can't touch it. An hour later, my phone started ringing. Braxton's name flashed on the screen. I let it go to voicemail, then Livia called, then Georgia, then Judah. I turned my phone off and went for a walk. When I turned it back on that evening, I had 23 missed calls and a dozen text messages. Braxton, call me immediately. This is a family emergency. Georgia, Michaela, please, we need to talk. This is getting out of hand. Livia, you're destroying our family over money. How could you do this to us? Judah, we can work this out. Don't let lawyers make this worse than it needs to be. The voicemails were more of the same, escalating from confused to angry to desperate. Eva came over that night with Chinese takeout and a bottle of champagne. How does it feel to be rich? She asked, popping the cork. Surreal. They've been calling all day. I bet they have. Their lifestyle just got very expensive very quickly. What do you mean? Eva pulled out her phone and showed me a news article. Judah's company took a major hit in the market today. Something about over-leveraged investments. And your parents' house? It's mortgaged to the hilt. That trust fund was their safety net. So they're not broke, but close to it. The country club membership, the cars, Livia's shopping habits, your dad's golf trips. All of that was funded by money that's now in your account. My phone buzzed with another call from Braxton. I declined it. They'll keep calling, Eva said. Let them. What's your plan now? I looked around my small apartment. It was nothing fancy, but it was mine. No one could tell me what to eat, who to see, or how to live. I want to start a foundation, I said, for women who get taken advantage of by their families, women who need legal help but can't afford it. Eva raised her glass. I love it. What are you going to call it? The Second Daughter Foundation. We clinked glasses, and for the first time in months, I felt like I could breathe. The next morning, Eva called with an update. The bank confirmed the transfer is irreversible. Their lawyer is threatening to sue, but he knows they don't have a case. Oh, and apparently Livia had a complete meltdown at the country club yesterday, something about having to cancel their membership. Good. There's more. Judah's been calling around trying to get a loan using the baby as collateral for sympathy. No one's biting. My phone rang again. This time it was a number I didn't recognise. Miss Michaela, this is Robert Chen from the Armstrong family's legal team. We need to discuss your recent actions regarding the family trust. I hung up and looked at Eva. They're getting desperate, she said. Let them be desperate. They made their choice when they decided I didn't matter. Eva's phone buzzed with a text. She read it and started laughing. What? Your sister just posted on Instagram asking for prayers during this difficult financial time. The comments are brutal. Apparently, people are asking what happened to all their money. I smiled and poured myself another cup of coffee. Outside my window, the city was waking up, full of possibilities I'd never had before. For the first time in my life, I held all the cards. The call came at 7:43 a.m. on a Friday. Michaela, what the hell have you done? Braxton's voice was shaking with rage. I was sitting in my new apartment, drinking coffee and reading the news on my tablet. Good morning to you too, Dad. Don't you dare act casual with me. Our accounts are frozen. Frozen. Do you understand what that means? It means you can't access money that isn't yours anymore. That money has been in our family for generations. And now it's funding my new life. Funny how that works. You ungrateful little... I hung up. 2 minutes later, Livia called. Michaela, please, I'm begging you. We have a baby to think about. You mean the baby I carried for 9 months while you treated me like an employee? That's not. We were stressed. New parents are always stressed. New parents? Livia, you didn't give birth, I did. And the moment she was out of me, you erased me completely. We can fix this. We can include you more. You can be Aunt Michaela, just like we always planned. After you told me there was no place for me in her life. Silence. That's what I thought, I said, and hung up. Eva arrived an hour later with bagels and a stack of legal documents. They're pulling out all the stops, she said, spreading papers across my kitchen table. 3 different law firms have contacted me since yesterday. Saying what? The usual: undue influence, family coercion, breach of fiduciary duty. They're throwing everything at the wall to see what sticks. Where will any of it work? Not a chance. The contract is airtight, and they violated it first. Plus, I have documentation of every conversation we had about their treatment of you. She pulled out her phone and played a recording. This is from 2 weeks ago when you called me crying, Eva said. My own voice filled the kitchen, shaky and hurt, describing how they'd excluded me from the baby's first doctor visit. You recorded our calls? I recorded everything. Every time you told me how they dismissed you, ignored you, treated you like garbage, it's all documented. My phone buzzed with a text from Georgia. Please call me, we're family. I showed Eva the message. Family, Eva snorted. Where was that energy when they were cutting you out of everything? Should I respond? Up to you, but remember, anything you say can be used against you later. I typed back, family doesn't treat each other like hired help. Georgia's response came immediately. We made mistakes. We can fix this. Too late, I replied, then blocked her number. That afternoon, Eva and I met with the bank manager to set up my foundation accounts. Mr. Rodriguez was professional, but clearly curious about the large sum being transferred. The Second Daughter Foundation, he read from the paperwork. Interesting name. It's for women who get overlooked by their families, I explained. Women who need legal help but can't afford it. Noble cause. We'll have everything set up by Monday. As we left the bank, Eva's phone rang. It's their lawyer again, she said, declining the call. That's the 5th time today. What do you think they're planning? Probably trying to find any loophole they can, but Michaela, there's something else you should know. She stopped walking and turned to face me. What? Judah's company is in serious trouble. The market downturn hit them hard, and without the trust fund as collateral, they can't get the loans they need. How serious? Bankruptcy serious. And your parents' house? They took out a second mortgage last year to fund Livia's IVF treatments. Without the trust fund income, they can't make the payments. I stared at her. They're going to lose everything. Not everything, but their lifestyle. Yeah, that's over. That evening, I was cooking dinner when someone knocked on my door. I looked through the peephole and saw Judah standing in the hallway, looking haggard. I opened the door but kept the chain on. What do you want? 5 minutes, please, just 5 minutes to explain. Explain what? How you treated me like a walking uterus? We were wrong. I know we were wrong, but Michaela, we have a baby now. She needs stability. She needed stability when I was carrying her too. Where was your concern then? I'm sorry, we're all sorry, but what you've done, it's destroying more than just us. What do you mean? Livia's not handling this well. She's barely eating, barely sleeping. The stress is affecting her milk supply. That's not my problem. She's your sister. My sister made it very clear I wasn't part of her family anymore. Judah ran his hands through his hair. Look, I get it. We screwed up, but taking our entire future, that's not justice, that's revenge. Maybe they're the same thing. Please, I'm asking you, person to person, give us something, anything. We'll pay you back, I swear. With what money? Your company's going under. His face went pale. How did you? I have good lawyers now. Amazing what money can buy. Michaela, please. Goodbye, Judah. I closed the door and slid the chain back into place. Through the door, I could hear him standing there for a long moment before his footsteps retreated down the hall. My phone rang. Unknown number. Miss Michaela, this is David Walsh from Walsh and Associates. I represent the Armstrong family estate. I'm not interested. You've taken them for everything. Are you satisfied? The question hung in the air. Was I satisfied? They took everything from me first, I said. My dignity, my place in the family, my relationship with my niece. At least what I took can be measured in dollars. There are ways to resolve this that don't destroy an entire family. They destroyed the family themselves. I just made it official. I hung up and turned off my phone. Outside my window, the city lights were starting to twinkle as evening fell. Somewhere out there, my family was probably having an emergency meeting, trying to figure out how to undo what they'd done. But some things couldn't be undone. Some bridges, once burned, stayed burned. The pounding on my door started at 6 a.m. on a Tuesday morning. "Michaela, open this door right now!" George's voice carried through the thin walls of my apartment building. I could hear my neighbours' doors opening, curious about the commotion. "We know you're in there," Braxton's voice joined hers. "We're not leaving until you talk to us." I pulled on a robe and opened the door, keeping the chain latched. "You're disturbing my neighbours." "We're disturbing—" George's face was blotchy and red, her usually perfect makeup smeared. "You've destroyed us. Our house is in foreclosure. Do you understand that?" "Lower your voice." "Don't you dare tell me to lower my voice. You stole from your own family." "I enforced a legal contract." Braxton pushed forward. "Legal contract? You manipulated the situation. You planned this whole thing." "I planned to be treated like family. You planned to use me and throw me away." "That's not what happened," Georgia said, but her voice cracked. "Then explain why I wasn't invited to my own niece's baby shower. Explain why you cut my payment in half. Explain why you told me to disappear from her life." "We were protecting everyone," Braxton said. "It would have been confusing." "For who? For you? Because it might have been awkward at the country club?" "The country club we can't afford anymore because of you," Georgia screamed. Mrs. Patterson from 3B poked her head out. "Everything okay, honey?" "Fine, Mrs. Patterson, they're just leaving." "We're not leaving," Braxton said. "Not until you fix this." "There's nothing to fix. You made your choices." "Our choices?" Georgia laughed bitterly. "What about your choice to destroy your sister's marriage?" I unlatched the chain and opened the door fully. "What are you talking about?" "Judah filed for divorce yesterday," Braxton said. "Says he can't handle the stress. Says Livia's become impossible to live with." "That's not my fault." "Isn't it?" Georgia stepped closer. "She's lost everything. Her husband, her home, her future, and now she's talking about hurting herself." My stomach dropped. "What do you mean?" "She hasn't eaten in 3 days. She won't get out of bed. She keeps saying she wants to disappear." "That's not—" "She's your sister!" Georgia grabbed my arm. "Whatever happened between us, she's still your sister." I pulled away. "She stopped being my sister the moment she decided I didn't matter." "So this is it?" Braxton's voice was hollow. "You're going to let our family fall apart over money?" "I didn't let anything fall apart. You did that yourselves." "We made mistakes," Georgia said, tears streaming down her face. "We admit that. But this punishment doesn't fit the crime." "Doesn't it? You treated me like a surrogate stranger, not your daughter. You erased me from my niece's life before she was even born. You lied about my compensation and told me to disappear. What punishment would fit that crime?" "We can make it right," Braxton said desperately. "We can include you. You can be part of the baby's life." "With what? You're broke. Judah's leaving. Livia's falling apart. What exactly are you offering me?" "Family," Georgia whispered. "We're offering you family." I had family. You took it away. The hallway fell silent except for the sound of Georgia's crying. "Please," she said. "I'm begging you. Give us something. Anything. Help us save the house. Help us save Livia." "Why should I?" "Because we're your parents." "Parents don't treat their children like hired help." "We were wrong!" Braxton exploded. "We were wrong, okay? Is that what you want to hear? We screwed up. We treated you badly, but you're killing us, Michaela. You're literally killing your sister." "I'm not killing anyone. I'm just not saving you from the consequences of your own actions." "The baby needs her mother stable," Georgia said. "Think about your niece." "My niece? The one I'm not allowed to see? The one whose life I'm supposed to stay out of?" "That can change." "Can it? Because last month you told me there was no place for me in her life. What's different now?" "Everything's different now," Braxton said quietly. "We've lost everything." "And now you need me." "Yes." "But when you had everything, you didn't." Neither of them answered. "That's what I thought," I said, stepping back toward my door. "Michaela, wait." Georgia's voice was barely a whisper. "What do you want? Tell us what you want and we'll do it." I looked at my parents, really looked at them. Georgia's designer clothes were wrinkled, her hair unwashed. Braxton's face was grey with exhaustion. They looked older, smaller, broken. "I want you to leave." "That's it. That's it." I closed the door and slid the chain back into place. Through the door, I could hear Georgia sobbing and Braxton trying to comfort her. "This isn't over," he called through the door. "Family doesn't end because of money." "You're right," I called back. "It ended because of how you treated me. The money just made it official." Their footsteps retreated down the hall, and I sank onto my couch. My hands were shaking. My phone buzzed with a text from Eva. "Saw the news about Judah filing for divorce. You okay?" I typed back, "They were just here, begging." "What did you tell them?" I stared at my phone for a long moment before responding. I told them the truth. They destroyed the family, not me. But as I sat alone in my apartment, listening to the silence, I wondered if anyone would remember it that way. Outside my window, the city hummed with life, full of people who had families that loved them, supported them, included them. I had money now, more than I'd ever dreamed of, but I'd never felt more alone. The conference room at Eva's law firm felt like a courtroom. I sat on one side of the polished table, while my entire family clustered on the other side, like defendants awaiting sentencing. Livia looked terrible. Her hair hung limp around her face, and dark circles shadowed her eyes. She clutched a tissue in one hand and stared at the table. Judah sat as far from her as possible, his lawyer whispering in his ear. Georgia kept dabbing at her eyes with a handkerchief, while Braxton sat rigid, his jaw clenched. "Thank you all for coming," Eva said, settling into her chair beside me. "My client has agreed to hear your final offer." "Final offer?" Braxton leaned forward. "This is our family, not a business negotiation." "You made it a business negotiation when you breached the surrogacy contract," Eva replied smoothly. Their lawyer, a thin man named Peterson, cleared his throat. "My clients are prepared to offer full restoration of the original $50,000 payment, plus a formal apology, plus guaranteed visitation rights with the child." "In exchange for?" Eva asked. "Full return of the trust fund money." Eva looked at me. I shook my head. "Declined," Eva said. "That's not reasonable," Peterson said. "The punishment far exceeds—" "The punishment." I spoke for the first time since entering the room. "You think this is punishment?" Livia finally looked up. "What else would you call it?" "Justice." "Justice?" Livia's voice cracked. "Michaela, I'm losing everything. My husband, my home, my future. How is that justice?" "You lost me first. How was that justice?" "We made mistakes. You made choices. You chose to treat me like hired help. You chose to cut my payment. You chose to exclude me from my niece's life. You chose to tell me I didn't matter." "We never said you didn't matter," Georgia interjected. "Dad told me I'd done my job and it was time to move on. You planned a baby shower and didn't invite me. Livia posted dozens of photos of the baby and never included me in a single one. What would you call that?" "We were trying to establish boundaries," Braxton said weakly. "By erasing me completely." "We can fix this," Judah said suddenly. We can co-parent, share custody, make it work for everyone. Share custody? I stared at him. She's not my daughter. Remember, you made that very clear. But you could be her aunt. I was supposed to be her aunt from the beginning. That didn't stop you from cutting me out. Peterson shuffled his papers. Perhaps we could discuss a partial return. Say, half the trust fund? No, I said. A third? No. What do you want? Livia screamed, slamming her hand on the table. What will it take for you to stop destroying us? I want you to understand what you did to me. We understand. No, you don't. You think this is about money. It's not about money. Then what is it about? Georgia asked. It's about the fact that you never loved me the way you loved her. I pointed at Livia. It's about 29 years of being second best. It's about carrying your grandchild for 9 months and being treated like a stranger. It's about being erased from the most important thing I've ever done. The room fell silent. I gave you everything, I continued. My body, my time, my health, my emotions. And the moment you got what you wanted, you threw me away like garbage. That's not true, Georgia whispered. Isn't it? When was the last time you called to check on me? When was the last time you included me in family plans? When was the last time you treated me like I mattered? No one answered. This isn't revenge, I said, standing up. This is karma. Michaela, please. Livia stood too, reaching across the table. I'm sorry. I'm so sorry. I know we hurt you, but please, don't let that baby grow up without her mother. She won't. She'll grow up with you. How? I can't afford to keep her. I can't afford anything. Judah's leaving. The house is gone. I have nothing. You have what I never had. What's that? Parents who would do anything for you. I looked at Georgia and Braxton. You'll figure it out. You always do for her. We don't have any money left, Braxton said. Then get jobs, sell your cars, downsize, do what normal people do. We're not normal people, Georgia said desperately. We're your family. No, I said, walking toward the door. You were my family. Now you're just people who share my DNA. Where are you going? Livia called after me. To sign the papers that make this permanent. Eva followed me out, carrying a folder of documents. You sure about this? She asked as we walked to her office. I've never been more sure of anything. Once you sign these, there's no going back. The trust transfer becomes irrevocable. Good. Ava spread the papers across her desk. Sign here, here, and here. I signed my name with steady hands. With each signature, I could hear voices from the conference room getting louder, more desperate. It's done, Eva said, gathering the papers. You're officially in control of your own life. Through the office window, I could see my family in the parking lot. Livia was crying in Georgia's arms while Braxton argued with Peterson. Judah was already walking to his car. Any regrets? Eva asked. I watched Braxton help Livia into their car, his movements gentle and protective. Even now, even broke and desperate, he was taking care of his golden child. None, I said. But as their car pulled away, I noticed an envelope on Eva's desk addressed to me. What's that? It came this morning, hand-delivered. I opened it. Inside was a photo of a baby with dark hair and serious eyes, and a note in Livia's handwriting. Her name is Emma. She has your eyes. I stared at the photo for a long moment, then handed it back to Eva. File it with the rest of the case documents. You don't want to keep it? No, that chapter of my life is over. But as we left the office, I slipped the photo into my purse when Eva wasn't looking. Some doors, once closed, should stay closed. But some windows, maybe, could stay cracked open, just in case. The invitation arrived on cream-coloured cardstock with gold lettering. You are cordially invited to the dedication ceremony of Emma Grace Riley. I turned the envelope over in my hands. No return address, but I recognised Livia's handwriting on the front. Eva looked up from her laptop. We were in the new office space for the Second Daughter Foundation, boxes still scattered around from the move. You going to open it? I already know what it says. How? Because it's exactly what they do. one last attempt to pull me back in. I tossed the invitation on Eva's desk and went back to reviewing grant applications. We'd helped 12 women in our first month of operation, women whose families had used them, discarded them, stolen from them. "Michaela." Eva's voice was gentle. "You should read it." "Why?" "Because closure isn't always about staying away. Sometimes it's about showing up on your own terms." I picked up the invitation and opened it. Inside was the expected ceremony information, but also a handwritten note. "I know you probably won't come, but I wanted you to know that Emma asks about the lady in the pictures. She points to my belly in the pregnancy photos and says, 'Mama?' I tell her about the brave woman who helped bring her into the world. I thought you should know that you're not forgotten." Well, Eva asked. "She's trying to manipulate me." "Maybe, or maybe she's trying to be honest for the first time." I set the invitation aside and tried to focus on work, but the words kept echoing in my head. Emma asks about the lady in the pictures. The ceremony was held at a small community centre, not the grand church I'd expected. I sat in the back row, wearing sunglasses and a baseball cap, watching my family from a distance. They looked different, smaller somehow. Georgia's designer clothes had been replaced with something from a department store. Braxton's expensive watch was gone. Livia held Emma close, her movements protective but tired. Emma was beautiful. Dark hair like mine, serious eyes that seemed to take in everything around her. She was fussier than most babies at ceremonies, squirming in Livia's arms. "She's usually so good," I heard Livia whisper to Georgia. "I don't know what's wrong." The pastor began speaking about dedication, about community, about the village it takes to raise a child, standard ceremony stuff. But then Emma started crying, really crying, the kind that cuts through everything else. Livia tried everything, rocking, shushing, offering a bottle. Nothing worked. Other parents in the congregation started turning around, some sympathetic, others annoyed. "Maybe we should step outside," Judah suggested. I was surprised to see him there. "No," Livia said firmly. "This is important." Emma's cries got louder. Livia's face was red with embarrassment. Georgia reached over to take the baby, but Emma only cried harder. Without thinking, I stood up and walked down the aisle. The entire congregation turned to stare. Livia's eyes went wide when she saw me. "May I?" I asked quietly. Livia hesitated, then handed Emma to me. The moment Emma settled into my arms, she stopped crying, just like that. Complete silence except for her little snuffling sounds as she looked up at me with those serious eyes. "How did you—" Livia started. "She knows," I said simply. The pastor cleared his throat. "Should we continue?" I looked down at Emma, who had grabbed my finger with her tiny fist. She was studying my face like she was trying to memorize it. "Yes," I said, "continue." I stayed for the rest of the ceremony, holding Emma while the pastor spoke about love and commitment and the importance of family. When it was over, I handed her back to Livia. "Thank you," Livia whispered. "She's beautiful." "She has your eyes." "I know." People started filing out, but my family lingered. Georgia approached first. "Michaela, I'm glad you came." "I'm not staying." "I know, but thank you for being here." Braxton nodded at me awkwardly. "You look well." "I am well." Judah stepped forward. "I wanted you to know Livia and I are working things out. We're going to counselling." "Good." "The foundation," Livia said suddenly. "I read about it online. What you're doing. It's important." "It is." "Maybe someday, when Emma's older, you could tell her about it, about how her aunt helps people." I looked at Emma, who was reaching toward me from Livia's arms. "Maybe?" As I turned to leave, Livia called out, "Michaela?" I stopped. "I'm sorry for all of it. I know sorry doesn't fix anything, but I needed to say it." "You're right, it doesn't fix anything. But it's a start." I looked at my sister, really looked at her. The golden child who'd had everything handed to her and lost most of it. Who was now raising a baby in a small apartment, working part-time at a dental office, learning what the rest of us had always known about struggle. "It's a start," I said. Outside the community centre, Eva was waiting by her car. How was it? Complicated. Good complicated or bad complicated? Just complicated. We drove back to the foundation office in comfortable silence. There was work to do, women to help, lives to rebuild. My phone buzzed with a text from an unknown number. "Thank you for coming today. Emma smiled for the first time when you held her." L. I showed Eva the message. "You going to respond?" "Not today. But maybe someday." I thought about Emma's tiny fingers wrapped around mine, the way she'd stopped crying the moment I held her, the way she'd looked at me like she knew exactly who I was. "Maybe someday?" Eva smiled. "Revenge is never simple, is it?" "No. Sometimes it just feels like freedom. And sometimes—" I looked out the window at the city rushing by, full of second daughters and forgotten children, and women who needed someone to fight for them. "Sometimes it feels like the beginning of something better." My phone buzzed again. This time it was a message from a woman in Ohio who'd found our website. "My family stole my inheritance to pay for my brother's wedding. Can you help?" I started typing back, "Yes, we can help." Outside, the sun was setting over the city, painting everything in shades of gold and possibility. Some stories end with revenge, others begin with it.